creative and crafty friends. This is Gloria Plunkett with Designs by Gloria. I'm here to show you how to create the focal point on this card, or on these cards that I've created, and it's the kite that sits on top of the regular A2 card that you would normally create without this topper and just put your regular greeting. But for this one, I'm going to show you how to create this cute little kite that you would add to the top of the card. Before I do that, I wanted to show you, these are the two I originally created. And as you can see, not only did I use the old ruffled folder, but the ruffles, you can see them, but they're not as nice and crisp as this mosaic in the new catalog that are beautiful. And what I did, and I noticed that it makes a big difference, is that I used the new 3D embossing folder. This is amazing, amazing. It's worth every penny. I went in, I ran my cardstock through, and can you see the detail? Look at how deep and how beautiful that embossing is. That is definitely worth every penny, if you ask me. So I'm not going to show and bore you how to create the regular cardstock. It's just an A2 cardstock cut at 4 1/4 by 11, then scored at 5 1/2. That's your standard card, and then I put a layer on top, which was the mosaic. But I am going to show you how to do this little piece right here that you can add to the top of a regular card, and add that little kite. All right, so we're going to start off. Bring in my paper trimmer here. Hopefully I can get it into the camera. Sure I can, but let me see if I've got a piece of 4 inches wide by 10 inches long piece of cardstock, and we're going to score it at the 5-inch mark. So I'm going to bring it down on my trimmer at the 5-inch mark. Do a score there. Then I'm going to bring in my pencil. I'm going to take this from the score mark at the 5-inch mark. You can see where I have the paper here. We scored at 5-inch. I'm going to take my pencil and mark at the make a little notch here at the 2-inch. Then I'm going to come all the way down and make a little notch on the 2-inch on that side. Then I'm going to flip it over, put my paper back on the 5-inch score line where I scored it, and then come here and make a little mark at the 2-inch and at the 2-inch here. Okay, while I have this open, I'm going to go ahead and half of 4 inches is 2, so I'm going to mark the little tip here at 2 inches. I'm going to flip it around and mark this side at 2 inches. Okay, we're done with the markings. Now we're going to do some scoring. And I'm going to turn my trimmer sideways because I don't think you're going to be able to see all of it if I don't do it. So I'm going to score, let me get this up the board here. I'm going to score from this score line to, from this point, pencil mark to this pencil mark. Then I'm going to score from this pencil mark over to this pencil mark. So I'm going to line this and this on my trimmer and make sure this is right at the groove right here. And then place this one right at the groove. Make sure they're nicely centered. And I'm going to score. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So I'm going to put this here at the groove and this here at the groove. So basically what we're doing is we're making an X. Take this and score. And as you can see there, we've got an X. I don't know if you can see that on my camera. Hopefully you can. And now what we're going to do is from this 2-inch score line to this 2-inch point that we marked here. I'm sorry, well, from this score line, but to this little point here, we're going to put this in the trimmer so that both those notches are right in the cutting area, and we're going to cut. Remove that, and we're going to flip it over and do the same thing. We're going to put this and this right at the grooves. See that? This score line to this score line. And I'm going to cut. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to go from this pencil mark to this pencil mark here. And I'm going to flip it around and do the same thing on the other side. From this point here, where the pencil mark is, to this pencil mark, I'm going to get him in that groove. And nice cut. Now, let me get this out of the way. I'm going to grab my bone folder, and then we're going to make some nice creases. So we're going to crease it here at the 5-inch mark where we originally started. I'll erase these pencil marks in a minute, but I want you to see I'm going to take it and I'm going to fold right on those diagonal score marks and crease them. And I'm going to come over here on this side. Can you see those? Fold right at that score mark. Crease it. You want a nice little crease there. And so this is your card, but to turn it into a kite, what we're going to do is bring in these two edges here and bring down the tips. So this is a good place to line everything up and give it a really good crease. So what we've done is we've created our kite. It's going to sit atop of the card like this, and it'll open up like that. Okay. So now we're going to add our designer series paper, which I use the Follow Your Art DSP. And we're going to cut these. We're going to cut this paper here at 1 7/8 by 2 5/8, and then we're going to cut it right down the middle. So what you're going to need to do is, because you want these to match. If I were just to cut these from one single piece and I were trying to match them, I would have to end up flipping one of these over, and they would not match. These are matching coordinating because I already used the other halves on the other sheet. So anyway, so you need to cut two, and then you're going to move one from the one cut and bring in the other from the other cut, and then you'll have two coordinating pieces. And then for the 1 7/8, you're only going to need one because they're going to be opposite facing, mirror image, so you don't have to cut a second one. If they weren't mirror image, then down here where I'm asking you to cut two, this is what you would end up with. One with this pattern and one with this pattern. But if you cut two, you'll use one from one cut and one from the other cut, and you end up with these two here, and then you can just match them up like this. So you want to make sure you set up your DSP like this. Bring this in. I'm going to bring in my adhesive. This is my Tombow, and I got it in this little container because it's easier to use for me. So I'm going to go ahead and add some Tombow. Try to do it right on the edge so I don't get any sticky ups from any DSP sticking up. So line it up best you can. Doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to have the sentiment over top. So you really won't see any of those lines, which is nice because it's a forgiving little pattern or technique, I guess. And that up there. And you want a little bit of white space in between, kind of like to mimic the wood that you would normally have on a kite. Well, at least it was wood when I was growing up. I don't know what it is now. Been a long time since I flew a kite. Now we'll put these pieces down here. I like using Tombow. It gives me a few minutes to get my cardstock and designer paper in place, because don't always get it straight, my friends. Don't always get it straight. Okay, I'll line this one up. Not perfect, but that's okay. When you get ready to add your sentiment, like we did here, I stamped this on a piece of half inch by 3 inch. And so I stamped my sentiment, and then I just cut the notches like I did here. And I attached it here, so you really can't even see that there's any discrepancy. And then down here, what I did was I took my ribbon and I made a little bow. And I took 5 inches of white baker's twine. I cut that off, and I took the white baker's twine, I put a glue dot here, and I stuck my baker's twine. Then I added my bow on top of the baker's twine, so you really can't even see that there's a gap, a real gap there, and then this will cover the sentiment there, will cover that middle piece here. Then I just added, like I said, a bow here, and then I tied little knots. These are about 2 inches, 3 inches, and then I just stuck them onto the baker's twine to create my little kite tail. I stamped the inside from the Above the Clouds stamp set, and that's how I created this little cutie. So now I have 1, 2, 3, and soon to be 4 cards. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave me a message or send me an email, however you want to get a hold of me. I appreciate you stopping by, and I hope you have a blessed day.